This is a paid-for party political promotion by the party concerned.
Gani pesa wala sanika kalilampi, bali kala lungisha kwenyu. Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Chenjera, wapya baisa bapompwe. Abo baisa bampompe nakabili lili abali awami ichalo. Abo baisa bampompe nakabili ibukishe fyoba unawile ichalo. Abo baisa bampompe nakabili lili abali asanika kasuba. Abo baisa nakalilampi soli ibane na muchelwa. Bali kala lugisha kwenyu kubana besukulu kwenyu kubana kalungisha mwana fama tale chula. Bali kale alungisha improve the economy. Bali kale alugisha bali ena abuya tanshi bali alifilugisha abwele la po bali timubweza po bali abwele la po bali timubweza po bali mwebe ashimia kalilampi walibuta kale kuno kwenyu. Bali muntu abantu kembo tetia yazeni kwenyu. Mwaleti sonte po wa bomba andwe isa tukulange mona improve the economy. Free quality education, good infrastructure, good health care, nani food security, rules of law nayo, national unity, peace security, jobu muli uti yo. Pompe shimia kalilampi walibuta kale kuno. Zambia chenjera abo baisa bapompe nakabili lili abali awamia ichalo. Abo baisa bapompe nakabili ibukisha fyobana wile ichalo. Abo baisa bapompe nakabili lili abali asanika kasuba. Abo baisa nakalilampi soli ibane na muchelwa. Bali kala lugisha kwenyu kubana besukulu kwenyu kubana talungisha bona fama tale chula. Bali kale alungisha improve the economy. Bali kale alugisha bali ena abuya tanshi kale alifilugisha abwele la po bali timubweza po bali abwele la po bali timubweza po bali. 2026 ni bali tulepela kwenyu. Kembo teti ayaze ni bali bali na fuchi ni kwenyu. Bompe shimya akalilapi ifwe na fuchi ni bali ichibi kale twaisala twalikwata kale bali ala bali ni kwenyu. Bali edi laiva mwebe opponent abinengali kosa kwe bantu kale twachonga kwenyu. Ala chinjera we Zambia bafika bapompwe bafika bapompwe mukabomfwa mumilandile baleti tribalism bali fyonsi fyalifi wa miakale pena bali nefya lubuli bali fyonsi fyalifi wa miakale ipwe tulife ichikata bali fyonse alikontolola. Pompwe shimya akalilampi Zambia chenjela abo baisa bapompwe nakabili lili abali awamia nchalo. Abo baisa bapompwe nakabili ibukishe fyoba unawile ichalo. Abo baisa bapompwe nakabili lili abali asanika kasuba. Abo baisa nakalilampi soli ibane na muchelwa. Bali kala lugisha kubana besukulu kubana dalungisha mona fama tale chula. Bali kale alungisha improve the economy. Bali kale alugisha bali ena abuya tanshi kale alifilugisha abwele la po bali timubweza po bali abwele la po bali timubweza po bali. Ni pompwe lilia kwa butati ya shailampi. We can turn into a valley. Zambia change kivote la kaine
Well, we're in the final stretches of the campaigns. Just 30 days to go, believe it or not, just 30 days to go. I know that some people say it's hard to tell that we are in the middle of an election, but we are in the middle of an election. We are not just in the middle of an election, but we are in the final stretches. 30 days before the general election. And I hope everyone still remembers where their voter's card is. But it's not just your voter's card that you need to go with. You also need to go with your national registration card. And this is something that I think we need to start doing. Start doing voter education. Doesn't feel like there's been a lot of voter education. Also doesn't feel like there's been a lot of conversations around voter apathy. These are two critical conversations that we need to start having before the 13th of August. On the program this morning, paid for by the UPND, is their media director, Mr. Mark Simuuwe. He joins us this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Thank you very much, Luchi, and a very good morning to our dear listeners.
And how the campaign's going?
Campaigns are going on well. We, I think, have set a tone, and there could be one or two sporadic instances that have to do with violence, but generally there has been a tremendous improvement insofar as space for all players to speak to citizens is concerned, including the media space. I think all political parties are making use of the media space upon payment available. So the biggest achievement that we have is having a few days before the elections and discussing very little to do with people hacking each other. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to start first of all with this big conversation that everyone is having, particularly farmers. Farmers are having. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they seemed a little upset about the fact that there still has not been a floor price set. I know that one of your achievements as the government, and even as we talk about the manifesto for the next 5 years, there's a big push towards having a bit more in terms of maize harvesting. As a party and as media director, are you paying attention to what's going on in terms of why there hasn't been a declaration of what the floor price is as of yesterday?
Absolutely. You are aware that this ending season we have had very good rainfall across the country, and the yield has been very good. Every farmer is aware that right now many of them are doing the shelling. I have not done the shelling yet. The majority of my fellow bushmen I've talked to are telling me this when they are now going to start doing the shelling. Remember that we're talking about 5 million tons. Obviously, we do not want the mistake that was made a year ago to repeat itself, where we quickly rushed. People got the maize with high moisture content, which was poisonous, and it backfired on government. I don't know if you remember. Government is merely taking precautions. The harm that would come with people having that moisture content toxic maize is higher than what the FRA is trying to cure. So I have done the harvest. I've removed from the field. I've subjected it to drying, natural. We're using natural drying system, which is the sun. I have not done the shading yet. The same is correct for many farmers. I want to say this. There are very few farmers in Zambia who have drying equipments. Out of maybe 1,000 farmers, you may not even find one with a drying equipment. When the moisture content is higher, FRA collects that maize. That maize is not collected on a pan. It is put in sacks. All that maize will be wasted. It will go to waste. It will rot because of the moisture content. So the fear is big. It should be made very clear that the biggest buyer right now from all the farmers is FRA. FRA does not buy off from the farmers to go and have the maize to rot. FRA would buy that maize so that they can reserve for citizens. Every farmer also knows that you do not get maize which is not yet very dry after shedding, then you put them in those protective sacks which have plastic. Then you are done. Forget about your maize. And this is why I'm subjecting it to where it is. But it is also important for us to indicate that there are those very small scale farmers or peasants who have very small yields. They harvested, they finished everything, and immediately the rains died down. They put their maize in the sun. They are different from the vast majority of those that are either small scale or commercial farmers who have very big yields. So at the end of the day, what has been done is to the advantage of the farmers. Commercial farmers do understand and they are not complaining. Complaints are coming mostly from peasant farmers.
The guys who are doing 60, 70, 80 bags.
Yes, because they have quickly harvested and subjected to the sun for some time. They're the ones that are in panic. But the challenge is that when buying maize, it's very difficult sometimes to tell what size the person has as a farm.
I didn't understand this yesterday. And this is the question that I asked one of the farmers who was complaining to me. I said, because he was saying they should have just announced the price. What's the danger of announcing the price even though you're waiting for this moisture, to come to a certain percentage? Is there a risk at all?
No,
because I think that's the argument that some of that the ones that the peasant farmers that you're saying are complaining about, to say, but just announce it so that we know how much.
Here is what is happening. Why some of them are saying just announce? Because even a farmer is very cautious on how much to make from their yield. They do not want to make a loss. The anxiety is coming from the fact that assuming a buyer today buys at 270, then government announces 400. Every farmer will know they will have lost their money. That's the panic. Now, the danger that we may be confronted with is that if government announces, much of the maize will be swept away by briefcase businessmen. As FRA, who is the biggest buyer, is waiting for moisture content to go down. Do you know what farmers do mostly? Why they wait for the maize floor price? They actually hold on to the maize. People are knocking at their door. Some are selling, but people are knocking at their door. Right now, those that are selling as below 300 per bag. I'm hearing of 240. Some are selling because they want to sort out a few domestic issues. If they have enough, they are saying, we'll only sell this, the rest will wait for the maize floor price. They know that they make more money when FRA buys. And that's why, regardless of what challenges historically people would face, you have many farmers banking on the maize floor price announced by government, because government takes into consideration a number of factors. The cost of fertilizer at that time, number one. The cost of producing maize, number three. The regional price, average price. Then government now arrives at the maize floor price. It's not just announced. While government is waiting, there are a few countries that may not have produced as much as Zambia, but they are looking up to Zambia. It is like some of them even create what looks like a cartel. They are waiting to hear what Zambia will announce because they know Zambia has 5 million. Some. So this is a game that government is using to protect its own farmers from making losses, because if they make losses, many of them will contract out of agriculture.
You don't think it's decampaigning the government, considering that the president at one of the rallies, I think it was in Chipata, where he said that he was pushing FRA to announce the floor price, the maize floor price. And then you have a press briefing yesterday where I think everyone expected, having heard the president say this, to say, oh, maybe today is the day that they announce it, and then there's nothing. You don't think that there's an element of making the government a bit unpopular?
Well, you need to strike a balance between what you consider to be something that is making you unpopular and the harm that may come as a result of people complaining all over that they've eaten poison the mini meal. The story was right on Radio Phoenix when it was alleged that people ate poisoned mealie meal. It is more harmful. In fact, there are devastating effects in giving citizens poison. Government is focusing on the interests of citizens. There is a doctrine of a lesser evil for those that do philosophy. When you consider the doctrine of a lesser evil, you're basically saying both options are undesirable, but you look at one which has less. Why it is important for us to look at politics? The president's interest is primarily to protect citizens. In other words, he has fronted the security and the health of citizens above politics. That's what the president has done.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about why the party deserves a second term in office. I know you've come in with your manifesto. I believe yesterday. I'm not sure if it's in today's papers, but yesterday the manifesto was in the newspapers. Let's talk about why should Zambians give your party a vote on the 13th of August?
Before I tell them why we should be given another mandate, it's always important that citizens, first of all, are reminded of where we are coming from, for us to assess and judge the UPND leadership better, and why it is important that we have this second mandate. I'll not spend much time, but I'll just pick very key issues or just highlights of how we found the country. Number one, in the mining sector, over 20,000 citizens lost jobs on the Copper Belt, where I come from myself. I have my own relatives there who are subjected to very serious and appalling conditions. They lost jobs. There was no hope in the mining sector. You know that Copper Belt is dependent on mining activities. Any other small mine that company you find on the Copper Belt goes into the mines as a contractor. As if that wasn't enough, we had scores and scores of suppliers based on the Copper Belt who were owed money by KCM and many other mines like Mopani. Having identified that there was a problem, part of our message was that we are going to reverse the liquidation process and revamp the mining sector. We shall mine the extractive industry better and also conduct exploration works that to subject us to knowledge of all untapped mineral resources that this country is endowed with. We succeeded. As we are talking today, we have revamped the mining sector. The liquidation process has been reversed. Mopani has a better investor, investing over $1 billion. KCM has a better investor. We have the suppliers who were owed money paid at a point that they were now taking over or assuming operations. We had the entire management retained so that those jobs could be saved or preserved. We had Lubambe mine, which is found in Chirabombwe. Remember, in Chirabombwe we find Lubambe mine and KCM. KCM sits in Chingwara and Chirabombwe. Lubambe mine has been gifted a very good investor to better run the mining sector. And the Mines and Minerals Commission has been established to properly manage mineral resources, the exploration works, and just administer all fairness in the extractive industry. We had companies that were almost leaving the country, like Lumwana and Kalumbila, also pumping in so much money and giving more lifespan to the mining sector. In Lumwana, over $2 billion. In Kalumbila, you have now works reaching an advanced stage for the expansion of the nickel mine, which will now stand as the biggest in Africa. You know the consequences of expanding a mine. It simply means you create more jobs. This is the reason we have a target of 3 million tons, and then we have been moving towards 1 million tons in a short space that we have managed to run the country. That is the mining sector. With so much revenue being collected, taxes being collected, because when the mine expands, they recruit more people, it means there will be more taxpayers. Then the government can have enough money to finance social cash transfer. Government will have enough money to sustain the 40 million CDF. Government will have enough money to advertise more jobs in the health sector, police, ZNS, teachers. government will have enough money to direct to Imisepela loans. That money is not coming from abroad. It is the money being realized by government through initiatives of growing particular sectors, such as the mining sector. Now, let me get to the agriculture sector. We found that there were 258,000 farmers that were unpaid for 2 years. Part of the message that we drove to the people in the 2020, ahead of the 2021 campaigns, was that vote for HH. We shall pay your money as farmers, and we'll be paying you on time. As we stand today, we have never paid farmers over a year. They have been paid within a year. But even that, the government is saying we must improve the system to such an extent that payments should now begin to be instant when someone has supplied something. Now, that is in the agriculture sector. What else? Part of what we promised the people in the agriculture sector was to conduct climate smart agricultural technology in Zambia. Before the drought, because some people have forgotten, they believe we started irrigation farming because of the drought. It was a UPND agenda. Before the drought, President Hagende Ejirema undertook a trip to Israel. I'm sure you remember. When he arrived in Israel, the opposition were laughing. And one of the things they were bringing is that, how do you go to a desert country to go and learn? We have enough rain for here. This man was saying there is enough water bodies. But we were striking a balance that when we have a drought, we must have an alternative. When the president came, he gave a statement on the climate change agriculture technology. The opposition were laughing. He attracted investors to come and put up this technology for irrigation. They are saying, why should you bring investors to come and get land here? I'm sure you saw the debate that ensued around this particular. Soon after this trip, there was a drought in this country. Then citizens understood the mind of the president and his leadership ahead of time. All he did now, it was a plug-and-play kind of affair. Apart from certain mitigation measures that were put in place, this drought found government already laying up a foundation. Can I justify that? In 2022, national budget, government released $1 million kwacha to conduct audit of farm blocks. The president was already preparing citizens for irrigation farming. Unfortunately, there was interference of the drought. And now it looked like this was an afterthought for those people that may not have followed through the thinking process, the thought process of the president. Now that's in the agriculture sector. The president says we have to take agriculture as a business. People are saying, if we produce more, where are we going to sell? The president started signing market access agreements with surrounding countries and countries overseas, among them Rwanda, South Africa, Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. We signed what may be considered as a joint agricultural pack initiative or system, sending these products as far as China, United Arab Emirates, where citizens were encouraged to even plant avocado. I'm sure you recall. Among many other countries, especially in the Gulf region. When he was done with that, then he said, fine, now can we produce more so that we can export? DRC is one of them. Then we've seen that these exports have been directed towards these countries. That's how it has been. Further, I should indicate that it is acknowledged that within the agriculture sector there is livestock. There is also fish farming. We introduced fish farming under the CDF initiative as a training component under skills training, so that we could have a program that was being managed. I remember the one who was usually a front runner in training is Dr. Kachaka in fish farming. The idea was also to restock some of the rivers where fish has has become extinct. We had in 2022 over 4 million fingerings for restocking and for also helping those that were trained in fish farming, so that we could also meet the demand on the market. Because when the supply went down, the cost of fish was skyrocketing. Now, that is in another area. Livestock, we said we have had beef in this country, not imported beef mostly, but local beef. We have the capacity to export because we have one of the best beef in the region. He signed another agreement with China and other surrounding countries. Today, as we speak, the Zambian people have taken beef export as a business and they are earning a living out of it. We have heard that we have started exporting beef to Mozambique. Now, what did we find? All these things were paralyzed. He went and told the Tazara workers that I am aware that you have been retrenched. When you form government, will pay you. They were paid. He went and told some retirees from Tazama, when you give us an opportunity, we are going to make sure that some of you that are still waiting for dues are cleared. He went and told those that are under NAPSA that we shall introduce what is called NAPSA partial withdrawal. You will not be waiting for your money. That we are not going to be waiting for your money in perpetuity. We shall ensure that this is done. So the next thing that we found was that youths were told across the country that there will be employment freeze or there will be no more recruitment by government except some replacements in the previous government. UPND came with a message to the youths and said, vote for HH, we shall unlock and lift this employment freeze. HH and his leadership and team also told civil servants that I know that the government imposed wage freeze, meaning no more salary increases. When we give us an opportunity, we shall ensure that without fighting and struggling, you have this salary increase. Have we done it? Yes, we have done it. Here we went, to also the media, that when we have an opportunity to run the country, we shall run the media landscape better. We will not allow media institutions to be closed. Have we done it? Yes, we have done it. Has the Access to Information Bill been signed into law? Yes, it has. And we've established further an institution for media self-regulation. And journalists have generally been protected like any other citizen. The president went further and said, within the UPND, whoever shall break the law and admire what the PF were doing will be on their own. They'll be arrested. It took leadership to bring the thuggery behavior, which was shedding blood all over, to an end, until certain individuals came on the scene to campaign. That's when we started hearing people dying. For over 4 years, 9 months, there was no single human being that ever died under President HH's leadership, until Parliament was dissolved. When Parliament was dissolved, there was a call by the ECZ for all political players to campaign. We started seeing people dying. We started seeing people being, attacked. Now, but even then, perpetrators are being arrested regardless of which political party they belong to. All those are things that came as a promise, as a message to the people of Zambia. We also taught these.
Just before you come, in as much as you've highlighted all the amazing things, as you put it, that have been done in the past 4 years, 9 months, give or take. For many citizens, I think they'll point to maybe 2 or 3 things that have gone terribly wrong. Number one, load shedding. I know you haven't really touched on it in detail, but you have to acknowledge that that's been a huge scar in terms of this administration. The fact that for 3 years there was massive load shedding, many SMEs, many businesses closed because of some of the policies, some of the ideas, some of the decisions that were made by your administration. Can you talk about how, how do you look to these SMEs today and say, listen, we want your vote. Yes, we acknowledge we made mistakes, but we want your vote, even though we're a big part of the reason why your business is closed.
Thank you very much. When you confront the matter of load shedding, we need to ask a question. What happened? Okay? What happened? How did we get there? Was it the type of load shedding where 90% of electricity was being exported? The answer lies in the fact that we have experienced one of the worst droughts experienced in Southern Africa, confronting 3 countries, Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Farmers whose conversation I started with will tell you that there was a drought.
I think we acknowledge that there was a drought.
Coming. They will tell you that, because I'm using farmers as a case in point, they will tell you there was a drought and there was no food. Government had to, at the opposition, who are now trying to mislead the citizens, went on the floor of Parliament and asked a question, the minister. In view of the drought, what is government plan for citizens? Because we have heard that over 6 million have been threatened hunger. What is government plan? And there was a ministerial statement. The ministerial statement was, again there was another question. Will government consider coming up with a supplementary budget? The answer was in the affirmative. We had the supplementary budget of 42 million. In other words, the opposition who were asking questions on the obvious issues that they had as concerns were the first ones to even blow the trumpet to say, in view of the presidential declaration. First of all, President HH quickly declared that drought as a disaster. First of all, when he declared, some were laughing. The moment they saw the realities, they were the first ones on the floor of parliament to ask us, the president declared this, what is government plan? Then a plan was rolled out that, look, part of our agenda ahead of the 2021 elections was that we are going to invest in green energy under the ministry we established called the Ministry of what? Green Economy. Remember, when the president went to Israel, it was operating on the premise that the Ministry of Green Economy did not only embrace climate smart agricultural technology, but that we are going to also invest in a green energy, which is basically an alternative source of energy using natural light, solar. Immediately, the president had a rolled out program which was strategically planned. He undertook a trip to China. There was massive criticism. When you look at the communique signed between President Hakainde Hichilema and President Xi Jinping, among them was an issue of solar. And when I appeared on this particular platform, this is an issue that you raised and said, we have had so many documents signed. We have had so many MOUs signed. People are saying, look, these are just on paper. Actually, that was your question. Then the thing that we were discussing, which you posed as a very serious question, is when will this be actualized? Because people just want electricity. And the point was that this needed to be installed. We made predictions based on a government agenda that some of the projects would take 10 years, 10 months, others 7 months. Within that period, the president was commissioning solar plants. The situation started normalizing immediately. Within a short period of time, we had net metering now having over 33 megawatts from citizens. Because part of the question you asked, he said, why should you start asking citizens to produce power and not government and ZESCO? I said, look, we are taking this to take to the citizens as business. Also the private sector coming up with an open policy.
Okay.
Now, load shedding.
The question is the question is simple. If I'm a voter, having been affected by, having had a business, having been affected by load shedding, having had my business closed, why should I vote for you?
That's why I'm giving the question. That's why I've given a background, so that you understand that when you have been confronted with such a situation of the drought, the role of the government is to provide mitigation measures. And I wanted to justify by giving that background that government provided adequate mitigation measures. Some measures were short term. They looked simple, but that's why they are called short term. Government had to have an extra expenditure to put up generators at strategic markets, the garden, but even those could not extinguish the situation. They could only go to a certain extent until we were out of that danger. But then, as a voter, you need to look behind that. At a point, we had a load shedding previously. It was not because there was a serious drought. It was because there was rampant exports. And the justification that we make more money when we export than in Zambia. When there was a drought, which was not as serious as this one, I want you to understand the difference. As voters, now they should understand that. The previous government told the citizens to go and urinate in the Kariba Dam.
Yeah, that was the previous. I'm talking about the past 5 years.
I'm giving a comparative
analysis. The past 5 years.
I want to justify why we should vote for
because
us.
Because here's what, and I interact with many voters. I'm one of those very fortunate people. I'm not in politics, so in my day-to-day life, I meet different people, and they tell me different things. So I'm going to tell you what many of these SMEs who've had their businesses closed, they say to me. They say, listen, one of the biggest issues that we've had with this administration is how they handled load shedding. They might make the argument that it was a drought, but they were still exporting power. at our expense.
Now, here is what happened. You recall that close to about 500. Those are, first of all, most of those were contracts that were already found. You remember there was Nawakwi, may her soul rest in peace, talking about government using a legal maxim to cancel contracts. I'm sure you remember. Old contracts. What government did was to reduce, to scale down by reducing it from about 500 and record over 300 megawatts of power, because then the deficit at that time was between 700 and 900 megawatts. At peak hour, Zambia needed to have 1,700 megawatts. So here is a voter who asked me a question and say, why should I vote for UPND? Because I lost business during load shedding. They have to be told that between UPND and your colleagues who told us to go and urinate, they had no solution. UPND has a solution. You have seen them putting up solar panels and more to be established. 100 megawatts, 50 megawatts, which are not in the drop in the ocean. And that's just the first phase in Chisamba, second phase coming. We are creating a permanent solution should Zambia be confronted with a similar situation as we did moving into the future. Meaning the devastating effects of a drought will not affect Zambia in the manner that we were affected to such an extent. We will have taken away the shock because of these alternative installations that we have. So between the two, if a voter is an SME and they believe that they have to vote out UPND based on the fact that there was a drought, first of all, a drought is natural. How did we handle it? We handled it responsively. What was done?
As quick was it as maybe the issue was it wasn't handled quickly. It wasn't handled as quickly as possible, judging by the fact that so many SMEs closed.
First of all, it could not have been handled faster than the way it was, for one primary reason. Our colleagues did not have interconnectivities. For example, into Tanzania, where at some point Tanzania had excess power.
Your colleagues went and got power from a boat. And this is the argument that so many of them make to say, yes, in the past there was load shedding, but at least they went and figured out a way of getting power so that we didn't have long 3-year period of load shedding.
No, they told us that they had imported the power from Europe, from some Asian countries. It docked at the ship using kinetic energy. It docked at Dar es Salaam. My brother, that power has never arrived up to now. There was an announcement. You go online, those that are listening. Kinetic, it will be docking. They also told us that they had gone to sign some MOUs in the area of energy. You'll be buying fuel at how much? 3 kwacha. To date, until they were booted out. But the point is that speaking to an SME, you have to compare how government was run in terms of electricity then and how we have done it now. Of course, the message is that not everything has been done fully. The president is saying there is more work to be done. By running the country in the manner that we ran by sector, it does not mean everything else has been resolved. We are seeking another mandate because we believe there is more work to be done. Yes, we have provided free education. Yes, we have provided cash for work. Yes, we have provided social cash transfer from 450,000 beneficiaries to over 1.1 million. Yes, we have been able to recruit thousands of youths in the health sector and in the teaching area, and also in the defense. That is correct. We can obviously tick. Yes, we have been able to give Misepela loans to over 50,000 youths, and out of that number, over 24,000 youths have so far set up businesses. Yes, we have been able to provide media freedom. Yes, we have signed the Access to Information Bill into law. Yes, we've managed to set up a commission to preside over mining activities. Yes, we've revamped the mining sector. Yes, we have a bumper harvest. We've managed to empower the farmers. Yes, we are producing fertilizer locally. But the president is saying, regardless of all these things that we have done, there is more work to be done. And part of the agenda moving forward in the manifesto, key on top of the agenda, is that we must reduce the cost of living. That is the elephant in the room. And in the UPND manifesto, it stands out at the top. But of course, we have come up with deliverables in terms of the president's 7 main goals.
Can I ask you a question before you delve deeper into those? Again, I'm going to use what a voter would say. And this is what voters tell me. They'll say, in the manifesto, the UPND talks about the big pillar being reducing the cost of living, but they had 4 years to do so. They didn't do it.
That's a good question. Now look at this. Even at household level, assuming a Luchi, giving a Luchi as an example, is getting 2,000 kwacha per month. Then he owes in Congole of 50,000 kwacha. He was supposed to have paid that money before he came into leadership. Luchi defaults. So Mark is asked to come and help run the house for Luchi. When Mark arrives, he says the economy is so bad, Luchi gets paid 2,000 kwacha. But 2,000 kwacha is not enough to pay the loan. It's not also enough to feed the family. It is not also enough to take children to school. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the person that gave this loan to Luchi of 50,000. Because according to their terms and conditions, Luchi is supposed to pay back in 5 days. And yet he gets 2 pin. In our view, this is a very bad loan. We must first of all change the conditions. Then I go back to the person who gave you 50,000. I tell him, you know what? I have over 20 million Zambians who are benefiting from this 2,000 Luchi gets every month. If I start getting this whole money to start paying back, cities, my people in the country will die. There will be no medicine. There will be no recruitment. There will be no teachers. There will be no health workers. There will be no mine. There will be no activities in the country. It's a bad loan. A mistake was made. Luchi has defaulted. But I want us to sit on the table and discuss again. So I say, okay, fine. I will listen to you because you are not Luchi. So now what we are planning to do is that we are asking that instead of us paying back that 50,000 with the 15% interest, we want to pay back with 0.6%. Because if you give us 15%, we will never pay. But if you give us 0.6, we'll be able to raise so much in a year. It will allow us not to remove any coin from this 2,000 that Luchi gets. Then what we are going to do, get this 2,000. 1,000, we are going to train our own citizens so that they start learning skills training. Then they will generate money. Then, because we'll have agreed to negotiate this, the investors will accept to come and start running mines. So we'll start collecting taxes when they open these mines and pump in a lot of money. We'll use this tax to start paying, but give us a breathing space. Instead of us paying this year, we should not pay. We want to start paying next year at 0.6. And then instead of us paying in 2 days, allow us to pay in 7 days. Now, that process is what HHA was doing. That's what we call debt restructuring. Now, your economy cannot perform well, Luchi, with that debt. So even after that has been done, we are still empowering citizens. They are setting up businesses. You cannot start milking them immediately until they have grown. Miners, they are opening a mine. They are pushing these trucks that are coming from the border, Nefishimbi, going Kumigodi, going to set up new mines. When you are setting up a mine, you don't start producing money immediately. When the mine starts running, that's when production starts. Then you can start talking about production increasing. And this is the production we're talking about when we say production of copper is moving towards 1 million. Then the next thing, because we've told them that we want to plan in a diversified manner so that we grow the farmer. We want farmers to graduate from being peasant to small-scale farmers. As we are talking right now, Luchi, we have over 1 million small-scale farmers who are on insurance cover. We have more farmers that have been added. You should not think that the same number of farmers we found in 2021 is the number of farmers we have. What did we do? We had to encourage citizens to participate in farming. Our friends in the opposition were laughing. We simply decided to codify it in the curriculum for skills training, and we called it general agricultural training, which was conducted alongside other skills training programs under the CDF initiative, so that we could have more farmers coming on board. I'm sure I've seen many citizens showcasing their products online.
I'm not sure whether you've answered the question. The question was, if I'm a voter who has spent the past 4 years struggling with the cost of living, and you are coming back to me saying, vote for me, and your manifesto in the first few sentences say that this next 5 years is all about reducing the cost of living, I'm making the argument to you that why should I give you another term when you haven't been able to reduce the cost of living?
So what I did in answering,
you went to debt restructuring, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think most voters want to have they want a definitive answer.
Exactly. So in providing a definitive answer, it must be satisfactory. So what I did, I wanted to demonstrate to citizens that the idea of revamping the mining sector is addressing the cost of living. Now, what do I mean? In other words, if the mining sector was not revamped, the situation could have been worse off than the way it is. In other words, the thousands of miners that you've gotten back into work, that is an economic issue. But that does not address the cost of living immediately. But over time, the cost of living is addressed. You cannot address the cost of living, I'm giving shortcuts now, when inflation is high. So the starting point, you must reduce inflation. What is inflation? It's an increase in the general prices of commodities. First of all, arrest it. Let them stop going up.
Yeah. You've heard your friends, I'm sure you've heard your friends say this, those that are campaigning across the country. They've said you can't eat inflation. So in as much as you and your team will tout things like inflation, the macroeconomics, they'll say nobody eats those things.
No, but they are contradicting themselves. When they say the general prices of commodities should go down, that's inflation. They are discussing. So what is happening is that they are actually trying to blackmail citizens. The moment you talk about the cost of living, you're talking about the price of commodities. What you are discussing when you're discussing the general increase in the price of commodities is called inflation. So they are basically speaking one thing and producing something else. When they tell people that you can't eat inflation, at the same time they're saying the price of minimum and everything should go down. That's what inflation is all about. The conversation is inflation. So now it's us to remind citizens that the general increase in the price of commodities is called inflation.
You think citizens care? Do you think citizens care about all these terms, inflation, deflation, and every other macroeconomic phrase that you can think of? For them, all they care about is they walk into a shop and they're able to 200 kwacha is able to buy a lot of things. That's all they care about. They don't care about...
We should not insult citizens. Citizens care about the cost of mid meal. That is inflation. Citizens care about a bag of fertilizer. That is inflation. It's a conversation on inflation. A citizen cares about the cost of tomato. You are discussing inflation.
Although no citizen goes to buy tomato and finds the price at 25 kwacha and thinks inflation.
No, this is what I'm saying.
They all just think things are more expensive.
Yes, so
that's all. And that's why I'm saying that the question is a simple question to say, how do you convince a voter who has spent the past 4 or 5 years sitting and thinking, why is it that things are on a rise, and yet your manifesto for the next 5 years says that we will reduce things?
Okay.
How do you convince that particular voter to vote for you?
Here's how we can convince them that on the score sheet, we told you that we shall provide free education, we've done it. We told you that we shall recruit youths, we have done it. We told you that we will revamp the mining sector, we've done it. We told you that we shall end violence, we've done it. We told you that we shall recruit health workers, we've done it. We told you that we have provided free education, we've done it. Meaning we can be relied upon. But even after we've done these things, there's more work to be done. When you say there's more work to be done, we are basically saying not everything has been done. And when we say not everything has been done, we also factor in the cost of living, and that's why it's on the agenda. So now, a voter should be reminded that if we have done all these things in a very short space, the ruins which were caused in 10 years, done in 4 years, which is not an easy thing, then they can bank on us and trust us to do the remaining things. Because you and I will agree that when you start talking about the economy by sector, we have more things to tick than the things that we are cancelling. And that should give citizens confidence that these guys are dependable. Now, in other words, we can be trusted again. That's why we are seeking a mandate.
Okay. Your manifesto. Sorry, just again. I just want to touch on this point about the cost of living. Your manifesto gives numbers. I can't do the numbers like you guys do. I'm not as cognizant with the 10, 10, 5, 1, 1, 1.
We'll speak to them.
Yeah.
That's why we are here.
But there's an element of the number of metric tons. What is the figure? Is it 10 million metric tons?
10 million
All right.
tons of maize production.
10 million tons. There's a wonderful question from people who say, why is it that the price of mini meal doesn't come down despite the fact that in the past 5 years we've seen a bumper harvest. So if the manifesto says another 10 million from what is it now, 5 million, we want to add another 5 to make it 10. Is that a guarantee that if it's a 10 million metric tons that the price will come down?
That's a very good question. Here's what happens. Increasing the price of commodities is easier and can rise sharply. Reducing it is done over time and not instantly because of a number of factors which we may refer to as other forces on the market. So right now where we stand, you and I, you will know that the price of mealie meal is not the way it was 2 years ago. It has not reduced because government has made a decree. It has reduced because there has been activities in the agriculture sector. Had we not experienced the drought, the price of mealie meal could have been lower than the way it is now. Because you recall that the very fact that there was a drought, you asked me a question, that SMEs lost businesses, things went up because the cost of producing something went up. That's correct. So to reduce them, there should be consistent supply. In other words, there was a disruption. Now, here's something that we need to understand. Right now, a 25 kg bag of mealie meal will go at maybe 265, 270. The question you ask yourself is that 2 years ago when we were in the drought, how much was it? Find it was 400 in some places and more. How has it reduced over time? There has been activities. Apart from the mitigation measures government put in, when they earmarked a certain number of farmers, 17,000 farmers, and gave them support in the area of irrigation so that they could continuously produce maize to stabilize the prices. Because you and I do agree that when there is very little mealie meal in the country, prices go up. Government put in measures such as blocking the borders. I'm sure you recall. Why were we blocking the borders? Because there was a scarcity of the commodity. And when there was a scarcity of the commodity, what happened to its price? The price went up. So now, how has the price gone down to as low as 270? And it is still going down over time. It is because there are these activities that have been done in the agriculture sector. But why is it not generally lower than that? It's because of other market forces. Because commodity prices are not determined by only one sector. There's energy to consider, which you made reference to in your question. Stability of electricity, 1. 2, the cost of fuel, which has sharply affected all the economies in the world, including highly industrialized economies, crying every day on international news agencies. So in our campaign message, we must be very clear. As a long-term measure, government has undertaken a number of initiatives. There have been a lot of policy shifts, such as bulk buying, so that when they buy, the frequent adjustment on the world market of price of fuel should not immediately affect the prices in the country. So you have seen that because the revision is not done on a monthly basis, there has been what you may consider to be some stability in the price of fuel. Now, it also suffices to mention that to transport goods from a farm to Soweto and tomatoes, my mother there pays more to transport. And when my mother pays more to transport tomato, she will recover what she pays more when she's selling tomato at Soweto. In other words, she's passing on the cost of transporting tomato from Katuba to Soweto to a consumer who is you and I. And that's what increases the price of tomato. So what we need to do now is that over time, with the situation, because some of the forces are either internal, others are international. For example, international forces could be the Gulf instability, the Gulf region instability, where there's war in Iran, where we know all of us that there's total dependence on those countries. So far where we live in Southern Africa, comparatively, that is the explanation as to why there is no country in the world to deal with cheap fuel. In other words, we must be very real and frank with one another and not deceive each other because of elections. And the frankness from the UPND is that there's no country with cheap fuel in the world. And the reality is real, and we must be ready to face facts. If you're going to remove UPND on the basis that all countries in the world have high fuel, then you're not being sincere to yourself as a citizen. Instead, we must be able to vote for UPND because you believe that they have achieved in free education. You believe that they have achieved in raising CDF amid very difficult times. Look, UPND has been unfortunate, especially when it comes to external shock. One of them is a natural one, which is a drought we mentioned. The other one are wars. Very unfortunate. But even when there were all these, we have been able to provide mitigation measures that have produced positive responses. Doesn't it shock you that amid all these challenges, we have been able to recruit on an annual basis citizens with qualifications? But we know that thousands still remain with documentation and qualifications unemployed. And this is why we are saying there is more work to be done. If we came to speak to the people through this microphone and tell them that UPND has delivered 100%, it means there is no need for us to have another mandate. We want another mandate because there's more work to be done. We have done part of it, but there is work that should be done. And we do concede and agree that the cost of living is high. We will never deceive citizens. A citizen who feels pain of the cost of living and tell them that everything is okay, then we are deceiving ourselves and we are not being sincere to ourselves.
Okay.
So we need to have a frank conversation. And the frank conversation that we need to have with citizens is that, yes, the cost of living is high. Look at what we have done. Look at how we found our economy. With what we have done, surely judge us fairly and have hope in us that we can deliver what is remaining.
Okay, let's let you hear so that you can have a frank conversation with some of the voters out there.
Yeah.
If you want to call us, 226-841-0978-895-895. I'll just ask you to wear your headphones so that you can hear.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Morning, Lutz. Morning, Mr. Simuuwe.
Morning, sir.
What's your name?
This is Robbie Chambeshi. Robbie.
Okay, go ahead, Robbie from Chambeshi.
I'm sure Mr. Lutz, you understand what I'll be talking. Mr. Simuuwe, as for us people from Chambeshi, we are complaining over our government. We are Chambeshi ex-miners. We worked for, our current president, he has put us in trouble whereby we used to contribute to this so-called Satunya Regina. You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Lutz there. We have gone through so many ministries. These former ministers, they know this problem. They haven't paid our benefit from this so-called Regina Satunya pension scheme from 2008. It is 18 years now. Our main problem or our supplies is to say the president is a major shareholder to this. And earlier this year, he came here in Chambeshi to come and give us another new promises instead of sorting out our problem, which he himself knows this. Mr. Simuuwe, we are very, very, very disappointed over our current president, the way he has taken us. The other side is telling the country to say we have paid the benefits of those ex-miners, you see. But ours is still standing, and he came here to give us another new promises, you see. So we don't know where we are going. We are suffering as people, and we are going through hardship, I tell you, whereby not even an ex-miner is surviving. Yeah. In this, your government is pledging to say we need the 3 million tons. Now, those people are producing those 3 million tons you want, those people will be producing, but they are in the sense not even caring for them. What is your position to ask Zambians over your leadership in this, in your party?
Yeah. Can I ask, before you go,
Yeah.
I remember you had called about this issue a couple of months ago when Chipoka Mulenga was here.
Yes, Chipoka Mulenga even directed me to the Labour Minister.
And did you go to the Labour Ministry?
That lady, she took me to the commissioner. I don't know the name, but he directed it to that Labour Commission. And that Labour Commission ended up saying this issue, they even take it to the State House. I asked him, how far have they gone over this issue? But he told me to come back, of which I even organized my friends to go and see the Labour Commissioner. We didn't get him. That's the reason. Yeah. You know, even so many legislations they know over our issue that we haven't even been paid this month. I don't know these people where are they taking it.
Hello, Bakalamba. Before you go.
Are you still there? I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think
he's gone. I mean, he has brought this up a few times. And I seem to remember.
I recorded this matter.
Yeah, I seem to remember Chipoka Mulenga may have said to him, as he said, directed him elsewhere to see the Labour Commissioner. Yeah. But maybe you can respond.
We'll deal with it definitely. Yeah.
Okay, let me pick up another one so that you can then just bulk them together. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. What's your name, sir?
Yes, Wakwinji number is my name.
Sorry, your name again?
Good morning, Mr. Simuuwe.
Morning, please.
Yes. Morning,
Sorry, just repeat your name again for us.
Yes, Wakwinji number.
Wakwindi. Okay, go ahead, Wakwindi.
Yes. The question that you asked, Ruchi, about the way UPNG manages load shedding. One thing that we must understand is that the power that Zambia has was made for 2 million people. And the population of Zambia has grown over time. Now, the leadership that has been coming along did ignore the development of power. And remember that we have had the load shedding under two leaderships right now. One, Lungu. President Lungu had load shedding and there was no drought. President HH, there was power shortage, there was drought. But here is what people should be talking about. What have you done over time after seeing that the power that we produce is not equal to the number of people that are being connected? That is one thing. Secondly, I want to, just in a short one, I want to indicate here that you see, the problem that we have is that we are not people the truth. Opposition are not telling the people the truth. If you talk about the inflation, somebody says no inflation and so on. Let me put it here. We have war in Iran, and this has affected all countries. Now, tell me, why is it that in Malawi, a pump fuel, petrol, is 73 kwacha, Zambian kwacha, and here it is 26. The reason is very simple. It's the strength of the kwacha. Because the kwacha is free fall. It's not manipulated like before. So we must be able to understand that these economic fundamentals have an impact on the economy of a country. So basically, if you say you are going to chew the reserves, what does it mean? It means we are going back to the debt. This is how they are chewing. Thank you. I wanted to contribute to that.
Okay. Wakunda, thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Lucy, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Mr. Simuuwe Mwavukashani.
Mwavukashani wakalamba.
Bwino, nibatata Simuuwe kuchungwala kuchingola. Simuuwe ndefu kulanda mchibemba. Mwalimu kwa President Wali Shia, twapela amate ya pose, amapiti. Right now, as I'm talking to you, wali kusha kutu mpala kula kumaisensi, kila chipita makuchilia. As I'm talking right now, wazetenes, that's the military. Wali pamulu, abarumendo, wale wasowesha. Kulifyongo. I wish I can go, I can show you the picture.
Next week.
There you are, the president has given back the boss, amapiti. Kuda kuda. But the pamulo, abarumendo, but the price, but also the imba. But they are saving weight. But can you do mining with the military? The answer is no. Tomorrow, cost of living only be reduced if you subsidize production. Simple as that. Cost of living will only be reduced if you subsidize production. I'll give you an example. This time we are in a period of war. The government should be buying bilateral. They should have bilateral agreement. The government must them ever extra fuel. Not if Mwalika fuel, Mwalika more private than. You cannot reduce cost of living with high cost of production. The cost of fuel is high. The simple question is subsidized production, of which you cannot do. Who will do it when you come with brand new Munduvi? Period. I'm talking right now. Talk to your security officers. But this is
Douglas, thanks. He's repeating the question, but thank you very much, Douglas. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Good morning.
What's your name?
Aluchi.
Morning. What's your name?
Yeah. Morning, the guest, Mr. Simuuwe. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. Morning, sir.
What's your name?
This is Brother K, Lusaka.
Okay, go ahead, Brother K.
Yeah. You see, Mr. Aluchi, allow me to digress a bit. But of course, within the context of Mr. Simuuwe's political standpoint.
Hopefully you won't digress too far.
No. Listen to this.
The Zambians, we like to digress everywhere.
No.
Okay.
This one is just adding more points.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, apart from 72 constituencies earmarked for grabbing by the ruling party, because the so-called major ones have failed to field in their own. And then on top of that, there will be those MPs to be appointed by the Republican President, HH. UPND is always ahead in terms of vote counting. Already 1-0 in favor of UPND. Why? Because women will turn out in big numbers to vote for a well-known party with a female running mate, and that is UPND. The others have done away with that norm. That norm spearheaded by PFN to have a woman running mate or a male one as a running mate when the woman stands as president. They've abandoned it. And they're quiet. In 2021, PF mocked and ridiculed UPND that they would fail to make a woman be running mate. But in fact, because Mrs. Narumango stood out, and now she's the VP, and she's also running mate to the president. Okay? Now, and because of that, the fellow women will stand up and go and vote for HH because he has embraced them as well. Lastly, but not the least, Tonse Alliance has misapplied that term at the Tonse Alliance because a woman has no. Women have been sidelined. Now, Tonse, what Tonse are they talking about? Tonse is all together. Now, what they want is to defeat HH. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother K. He did digress exactly how I thought he would. Do you want to respond?
Yes.
And then I'll pick up another.
Thank you very much, Brother K. And I need to add to what Brother K has brought out in his way of trying to digress, that indeed UPND has adopted more youths than any other political party. UPND has adopted more female candidates than any other political party in this general election. And we heard the opposition complaining that we adopted these in order to blackmail citizens. There's no blackmailing. We need to live up to regional and international conventions on the need to create space for the marginalized. UPND, further, you know that pushed to ensure that the constitution was amended to allow for women to participate in the governance issues, especially legislative functions, youth to participate, persons living with disabilities to participate. The whole world is now looking forward to seeing how beautiful our parliament is going to look in the next 2 months. They are waiting to see how nice the debate and deliberations will be. For the first time, we'll have the Gen Z and young ones following parliamentary proceedings because their own friends will be in parliament debating. In case you've forgotten, I need to remind you that the youths that are following us online will have the desire to follow proceedings to see how their own friends will be representing their interests. Because you cannot be an adult, then you are representing interests of a 21-year-old young lady. Times have changed. My elder brother, who is above 45 there, may not know what the demands and the needs of a child of today, because times have changed. But sending the children today, the child, or let me say a youth today, who is 26-year-old into the National Assembly, who understands TikTok, the Gen Z era, it will be easy for that child to participate when the legislature is making laws about social media, because they understand the effect it will have. But a person above 50 may not understand and appreciate the effect to have, because for them it's just WhatsApp and Facebook and it ends there. Find Facebook is being run for them by someone else. Even WhatsApp, they have to take 1 year in order to read an SMS. But the Gen Z understands they are moving with the world. We need them in parliament. That's what President Chich has done. Persons with living disability, a person like you and me, cannot go and represent their interests. We've never been. Allow them to speak for themselves. That's what President H has done. I'm trying to buttress what Brother K, in a more simplistic way, has brought out. I should also indicate that indeed we have a female vice president, and that's how it's supposed to be. It's a serious commitment. We cannot, we were of the view that we cannot, and even the president himself, he was very clear, we cannot be promoting Bill 7 to take women and we are removing women. Then what are we doing? That's his concern. Instead, we must promote more women and youth to participate. Now, let me quickly get to the other question. This must have been at Wakwindi.
Wakwindi, yes, on load shedding and.
Douglas, let me deal with Douglas.
Okay, Douglas
and
Jerabos and
the place
subsidizing.
he's talking about, I know it. We used to play from there most of the time. You cross the rail line which goes to Rulamba to get to a place that he's referring to. I know Chiwempala very well. Chiwempala is just about 2 kilometers from my home there. So, I should make it very clear. When you have a person saying, what are security doing there? They're there to secure citizens. I'm glad Wanguni is not telling us that they are stopping people from mining. Okay? Because there should be security. You know what happens in the mining sector, in the mining area, especially on the copper belt. We are still looking for missing bodies in Chingola. As a person who comes from there, I know how some of my colleagues there are feeling. We are moving towards 2 years. We are still looking for missing bodies. Life must be secure. There should be someone watching that people don't engage in unsafe mining activities. Douglas, I'm glad you brought out that I believe there is nothing wrong with what you have said, because you have not told us that mining has been stopped. The next thing that I want to bring out, you are basically saying we need to subsidize production. I don't know what kind of production I was referring to, but I could assume that you could be talking about maize and all this. Yes, we have zero-rated the importation of all agricultural equipments and accessories. In other words, you don't pay anything. You don't pay anything. When you subsidize, government pays for you. When you zero rate, it means there's nothing that's being paid. You're saying, no, Brian Mundubire will do it. They had their time. As the president indicated, these people were buried. We had UNIP. UNIP was more stronger than most of these political parties that are coming up. They are gone. MMD came very strong. They led us into hippie completion point. They are gone. PF came. They are PF actually was the West. Because the achievements I've talked about, if you want to know how they were running Mundubire and colleagues, just turn them upside down. Then you have described Mundubire. What do I mean? They scrapped off meal allowances. We brought meal allowances. They killed the mining sector. We revamped the mining sector. They imposed wage freeze. We removed wage freeze. They failed to pay council workers for 7 to 15 months. We paid them. They failed to pay farmers for 2 years. 258,000 farmers, we paid them. CDF 1.6 million in 2021. Even to pretend to pay it, they failed in 2021. We paid, now we are at 40 billion. And we're moving towards 80 million. So what I'm saying is that all the achievements of UPN, you turn them around. They killed Kwacha. We have mended Kwacha, making it one of the best in the world. They killed the energy sector. What did they invest? Look, I want to say this, going to Wakwindi. This is Wakwindi, in Ambao. But Wakwindi, I want to indicate that when the ZESCO came on board to interact with China Power, it is because of UPND. President HH went there. The solar panels and everything you are seeing, we have changed policies. UPND under HH has been doing projects that should have been done 60 years ago. That's the problem. Why, if the Mundubire had plans, why didn't they put up the solar panels that we are putting up? If they had plans, why didn't they come up with net metering to produce 33 megawatts? If they had plans, how come ZESCO had collapsed when we arrived? And we were told by Dr. Walyangandu that ZESCO has collapsed. Over 50% of what it makes goes to salaries. ZESCO is owing everywhere. We found ZESCO struggling to have this hydropower station at Kafue Gorge, Ruchi, done. When UPND came into leadership, we found even borrowed money was chewed. HH had to look for money to buy 4 turbines there, each one producing 150 megawatts. We found Zesco owing Mamba Collieries $500 million. Zesco was finished. In other words, we started by mending Zesco itself before we could put in place reforms that allow for other players to participate in the generation, supply and transmission of electricity, which has created more jobs again. The next thing, I want to indicate that I agree with Wakwindi when he says opposition not telling the people the truth. Of course, they'll just go and lie. People must be ready to accept a lie. It's like a person who has failed grades 7, 10 times coming to tell you how to pass grade 7. That's what Mundu are doing. It can't work. First of all, he must pass. Then he tells you how to pass. But they failed. Social caste transfer was at 450. They were stealing social caste transfer from poor people. But now, the 450 beneficiaries have moved to 1.5 million. They were paying how much? 180 kwacha to citizens. We are paying 800 kwacha. They failed to run it. They failed to run free education. Today they are lying that they're the ones who brought free education. And yet when free education came, they said, no, there's no free education. Because free education simply means A, B, C, D. But what did they bring? HH is lying that you bring free education. Where will he get the money from? That's what Mundubire was saying. They are on record. That's why today they are so confused. They are behaving like demon-possessed individuals. They'll go to a place.
Oh, that's not necessary. That's not necessary. It's not necessary.
Those are my words.
No, but it's not necessary. No, it's not necessary.
So I want to tell you how I want to describe my point. I'm using metaphors. They are called metaphors in English. They'll go to a place where people are constructing an international airport in Nakonde. They find people with machinery constructing an airport. Then they stand and say, you know what, when you vote for me, I'll construct an airport. And say, sir, this is the one we're constructing. Then they will come and say, you know, you people of Umumbwa, because you belong to Southern Province. For example, since you belong to Southern Province, I'm going to do that. Sir, we don't belong to Southern Province, we belong to Central. How, imagine such a person is at the UN, representing your country. And the interesting part which we are now enjoying is, we are encouraging you journalists to give Mundubira and his friend more microphones. Then you will know what they are made of. Then citizens will know that they are in a crisis. Perhaps citizens will know that the one, may he so rest in peace, ECL, who lost, that's why he was, to them, was far better than them. Now, if they believe to them he was far better than them, then how do you want to give us the West? Let me move to the next one. Chambeshi. But Mobile X Mine 2008. PF Bali Sabamiteka for 10 years, Tabam Perempia. And you believe you can bring them back. And yet to come to Chambeshi, which is between Kitwe and Chingola, you are aware that it is now a constituency. So you must, think about your children. They will benefit that CDF because now that is a constituency under the UPND. Pachambisha pepo muliba kalamba ipo. Ele chintu chimbechu mfuna na miebo kwa chako bati. Ayama developments mumwena under UPND, ama expansion ya NFC. That China non-ferrous. Kwali abafi ama bomu ku people are exploding there. I think then the other question that you bachipusha, the question on Satunya and all these things. From 2008 to date, at least I have an idea of one of the answers that were given to this. I'm not sure of HH and the shares and how much he has, first of all, because I've not seen the articles of association from Pakra. I think he must have seen them. But let me address his concern. Your concern is genuine. But a bit of what I've picked from that particular issue is that government was not remitting. The same with ZNBC at that time. That's the time we were challenging them that you are closing the Post newspaper for not remitting what you are deducting from to ZRA. And yet government is the perpetrator. So you want a private company to use their own money when that government last time was not remitting. And then some of them with similar nature, government paid. After government paid, Their own lawyer chewed the money. That is one of the issues that we've handled before, where I've been approached physically and say, media director, there is this. What is your legal opinion? I said, what is the status of the issue? And we went to court. You took who? At the government. And who? And also this company. This company went and said, the government, you're saying government owes you through this institution. So, I would want to get more details from the institutions he was referred to. I'm glad that you reminded him of the time that Chipoka Mlenga came, so that we understand the status of the issue that he has raised, so that it can be better addressed. I wish this question was known earlier, so that we could engage, just as you have guided, that when Chipoka Mlenga came here, he spoke to you and organized that you are directed to labor office and all this, which he said he reached that side and nothing has been done. So I think we would also want to know what the position and the status would be. Then we can give a more satisfactory answer to a Zambian citizen, because President HH and the UPND cares for you. You are a Zambian like any other, and he's saying he cares for you.
Okay.
He loves the people of the Copper Belt.
Okay.
That's why he's doing more activities there.
Okay. Here's a question from Peter Chamata on our WhatsApp line. Peter says the problem we have in Zambia is leaders like yourself, Mark. He claims that you are habitual liars who constantly deflect responsibility by dwelling on the past instead of addressing the present. Forget about the PF; they're no longer in government, and some of their former members are now actually allied with the UPND. People are tired of hearing day after day, PF this, PF that. What Zambians want to hear is what you will do differently if you're re-elected to office. This time around, you should have set aside your pride, apologize to the Zambian people for the hardships they have endured under your leadership, while asking for their votes, taking responsibility and seeking forgiveness would have demonstrated humility, accountability and respect for the electorate. This from Bernard. This next text is from Bernard.
No,
this one is from Peter Chamata. This is from Bernard. Bernard essentially saying the same thing. Says that rather than talking about the past and other parties, there's need for you to address what you want to do over the next 5 years. Mr. Banda within Lusaka says, how many megawatts of power did the previous government leave through the Kafua law that they were constructing to mitigate load shedding, and how many megawatts has this government made in the last 5 years? That's from Mr. Banda. There was a conversation that we were having earlier on about maize. This is from somebody who just says, why did they just announce the floor price for maize and say they will start to buy once the moisture content reaches their target? I think the UPND are very bad communicators.
Now, let me start with the farmers. I think we've addressed this one. We've made it very clear. Yeah. We should not look at the appetite to sell. Ensure that what you are selling is fit for consumption. I think that's the short answer I can give. What we are telling you as the last sender of the message is that what you want to quickly sell is not fit for the consumption of your buyers. You kill them, bakalamba. So don't focus on money only. Focus on the quality of what you are going to sell. That's the shortest answer I can give to you. Let me go to this Peter. This is Peter Chamata.
Yes, Peter Chamata.
Yes. But Peter, this is how
you can actually add that Peter and with Bernard, because they're very similar.
Now, Peter and Bernard, I believe both of you go to church. Why is it that every time you go to church on Sunday or Saturday, you are always talking about Satan, who sinned thousands of years ago? Every time, Satan this, Satan that. You should have abandoned him. Now, even in a class, at elementary level, we are still giving these questions in the exam. Compare and contrast. What these guys are trying to do, like Peter and Bernard, they want us to stop talking about the past so that they can now identify the problem. When they say that under PF it was like this, they are comparing to UPND. When they say no, the cost of living is high, I'm sure you've heard them. JCTR is saying this. When you came in leadership, it was this. What are they doing? They are comparing. So, Peter na Bernard tatwaleke kuchita compare. You want to drink us, we'll continue comparing. Because politics is about comparing. If politics is not about comparing, then we should stop voting. What you are doing is you are comparing HH na abashalava to check who is the best. And what we are doing ourselves is to demonstrate to you at what they did is this. So what you are trying to do to us is to twist us so that we don't talk about their past. They were closing media houses in the cabinet. They closed Prime TV, they closed Movie TV. He was in the cabinet together with Makebi Zulu. Makebi was in parliament when they were endorsing. Even PF was comparing when they wanted to form government to remove MMD. And the MMD continued crying. If you remember, I was obviously moderating the way Lucho was moderating. They were comparing and say, MMD has failed. This is what we are going to do. MMD did this is what we are going to do. Under MMD, this is what we found. That's what you are doing. Time has come for us to do the same to you. So don't cry. All you need to do is to tell us that, no, we did not scrap off meal allowances. You destroyed the mining sector. We must compare. So when you ask us, what have we done? We say we've revamped the mining sector. You are not paying council workers. What have we done? We are paying them. Moving forward, the last one is it Babanda. Comparisons.
No. It was the same. Mr. Banda's
exactly.
point.
It's the same.
It's the same.
So we are saying the very fact that there was no 100 megawatts produced by solar. Because the comparison is that PF never set up 100 megawatts. That's the comparison. That's the starting point. Chim to chim chakobati. This the open policy, open market policy, open access per se, to allow for other private sector players to participate in the generation, supply and transmission of electricity was not there. The policy has not just been made now under the UPND. Chintu Chimbi, there was not a net metering. No citizen was producing power to supply to the national grid. It is the first time that we have that is a phone in the background. It has even ticked me. Yeah. So we have right now, as we are speaking, my brother, over 33 megawatts produced by citizens. That's a comparison we can give. But the point that we continue stressing is that regardless of all these achievements that we have made, the president is concerned. He's saying there's more work to be done. What we've done is to lay a foundation. That's why we are able to target 10 gigawatts of power generation. That's why we're able to from over 3.7 megawatts. That's why we're able to target 10 million tons of maize production. We found maize was in negative in terms of production because at that time the farmers were not willing to engage in farming until we paid them. That's why we are targeting 5 million tourist arrivals. What do tourists do to my friends in Chingola, Chambishi, Kitwe, Kalulushi, Mufurira, Chirabombwe, Rufanyama? What do tourists do? When these 10 million tourists come, because when we came in leadership in 2021, we found there were 500,000 tourists coming in Zambia per year. Now they stand at close to 3 million. What have we done to attract those? Part of what we did was to relax visa conditions. Secondly, to create political stability, because then they can easily come and spend their holiday here without disruption. Thirdly, is that there is security in Zambia, stability. Number 4, also some of them in the process of spending their time here with their families, they are able to see other opportunities that are found in this country. Then they will leave the dollars that they are coming with. That is the money they will leave in hotels and lodges. Then the hotels and lodges will have enough money to pay our brothers and sisters working there who are Zambians. In addition to that, these hotels and lodges will pay taxes. Then government can have the money to give imisepera loans, to give market booster loans, to also sustain free education, school feeding program, and many other projects. That's what we are doing. That's why we are setting up a target that moving forward, we want to focus on 3 million tons of soya production, having the market access agreements that have been signed already, 1 million tons of wheat production, 1 billion beef exports. All these things we are talking about, we have started already. We are not talking about things that we are not doing. Maize production has moved from 3 million to 5 million. Now we are talking about 10 million. If we have managed, our colleagues were putting up target of 550,000 metric tons. We are discussing millions, Ruchi. We need to remind them. So that's the comparison we are giving.
Okay. All right. Let me go back to the phone lines.
Yes,
22641. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good
morning. What's your name, sir?
Thank you very much. My name is Jonah Sialumano.
Okay, go ahead,
Calling
Jonah.
you from Monze.
Go ahead, Jonah.
Thank you very much. Mabuga to Simuuwe. Thank you very much. Let me state it that I'm a person with a disability and I'm an advocate. And I've been in this field for more than 20 years. We had Kaunda, who used a passion in remembering persons with disabilities. There was no law. So the question has been, why should HH be voted forward? The first one, in the history of Zambia, we've never seen the law that allows persons with disabilities to be nominated. And furthermore, even to be nominated under council chambers. So on this one, going forward, what is just needed is to ensure that in all government departments, there is an establishment of disability focal point persons or disability affairs department. Because currently, some of the disability service delivery, they may be not be to the advantage of a person with disability due to the fact that some of the public officers may not understand what it means to have a disability. Secondly, there has been now disability transport allowance that has been introduced under the UPND government. As we are talking right now, persons with disabilities in public sector, they get 30% of transport allowance from their basic salary. This never used to happen, and 35% those that are under central government. So what is just important is to ensure that in offices, these services are being implemented. If you remember, when Local Government Service Commission employed the persons with disabilities under Disability Act number 6 of 2012, Article 39, then they went beyond the 10%. They went up to 41% in employing persons with disabilities. And this is part of ensuring that there is a promotion of inclusivity, and not just inclusivity, but ensuring that persons with disabilities are taking part in the national development. And finally, let me state it that under CEEC, Citizen Economic Empowerment, under the new Dawn government, there is 15% of persons with disabilities to slot there for loan application. So what is just important, again, is to ensure that the message is imparted into persons with disabilities on how to go about it and how they can apply. And then the other thing is finally, under social cash transfer, it has moved from 800 to 1,200, I can be corrected there, and on which what the persons with disabilities get. So, Simuuwe, what is just important also is to ensure that there is need to start monitoring the work culture of social welfare officers in the manner they attend to public, including persons with disabilities and parents who have children with disabilities, and ensuring that there is that monitor. The way CDF is being monitored, even the social cash transfer must be monitored the same, because some of the officers under social welfare, they have just taken it as if the social welfare department is their private property, such that there is no that the PR approach in attending to some of the people, especially the vulnerable and persons with disabilities. Otherwise, there is that progress that we are making to see to it that persons with disabilities are included under the new Dawn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Okay, he's essentially repeating some of the achievements. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Rich. How are you?
I'm okay, sir. What's your name?
Mulenga, the voice of Professor Simuuwe.
Bueno, shane bakalamba.
Twadodera singe mulandiri mulelondolo la bwino sana. FRA rekeni mpere information yakule bati ile chitika kuri ba FRA don't know abatumine kulefana kamwe kalamba baba FRA mwa kumona kumasana sampolo malodi ya kupita kuri ba chifu shaibi pam service overstation ababo ulila abarefuma kwa chikupiri abarefuma kwa pisana. So FRA yesterday tuwalina meeting bareranda nga tuwaisula mbo kuleta amatabanga waleta takulolera wa kulonda esa na ba security besu mukalafu myempia mwabalita imwe mukalazi navye mukuchekinga fili line yobepo yaska nomba imwe mulenje bati umuntu lafumene kusibuye kuchira tuwila bandi bala litilo ngoteti kwacho kuisa pale bakala kwanisha every day kuisa kwe abene ikayo sama past years bala lolera pala penyanti line afika this year siyalengesha yupendira rusama election why ifunde bena balifuza kwe bathu bese na security babo izo mlefu ayikulolesha naye mupiwa iminyina kuli wa UPND mlefu amwe be information and balechike into chief shaibi apale ni 5 km pale so funa nare nomba ba information abe ba oloshan kai ba void ba kanyo kuchama question no vote wala sin and final komuni ndio mshikefanda afako sema FRA ine na information na yene ili kumpika kwa kumpika this to kwam kan constituency kuisa pampika sen sema information FRA balefu abafurunganye katushinga benanga ba opposition urosana mwefa muchite find out yourself tika kumalulo area especially in the patient strong yaba aba na mundu kwa kula northern province muchinga like ba FRA mwitena bena punch so that move program information yaba tuweli because the information na miwa kumkushi efyo banjebele na kumpika if it's the case so UPND mrefa kamwe wake up another part of Zambia if it's taba FRA katisha benanga the opposition or shan ukona afumako if it's today into izindi sana ngakupenda no mutokti wa look what is in cash for work now ipokerera concept wana ngo nari kuchirinda constituency balanda na bachitabuino apa bena bali amba no kulembeje kuchirinda constituency atulirede
all right. Listen. Thank you very much. It's gone on a bit too long, but I think we get the point. Thank you very much for coming through. Let me see if I can take one or two before I get your last responses.
Yeah. Wow. Kabanji ma sebenza banji.
Bruna Banji, boss.
No, kiami kamulungu wachu shawanzatu bari kumochari judgment day kama stumbeko kuno kwa kanyama. Wa MD mwa ukama sebenza banji.
Tauka bakama yoyo bwanji uko
no ifetia mikamulungu atisunga yeo na bamlenga na baposha na family yonse oko nizona munga mwamene wakambira bamlenga mukamba kwino for example ine wamene ni chita benefit ku free education ni chancha mene chizarengesa kuti ni votere wa mundubi ina wamene nizi wakuti kuli buluru wanga teacher wamene anankala na mapepa yake 5 years 10 years kutokera mwamene anachokera ku university oroka pena ku college so mavoti yaba president na suti yaliko bantu bafuna chebazive mtengo wa milisi kibazamba kugulisa zingati milisi yako iyeve ba FRA bafunika bankale serious kuti bauze bantu kuti mtengo wa milisi tizamigula paso deni bantu olo na briefcase baya babakonka kuja bazabauza ati ife milisi government inachuza mtengo nwaso solo ma briefcase baya bakaenda kuja bazagula pa mtengo amene bafuna kugulira po ba FRA yeti amene bafuna bantu inangu iyeve ifunika kuenda direct kuri ba president ba Patrick Kangwasi wanamverere vamene wana bauza ba president kuti ife bafuna kutuona ba president to Patrick Kangwa kuna baba chosen chito ziko ma Max Moore.
All right, thank you very much. Do you want to respond?
Thank you very much. I think most of these were more of commendations and concerns. For FRA, obviously relevant authorities at FRA have heard on the message distortion in some parts of the country, especially the rural setup. I do agree and obviously do recommend that obviously FRA will do justice with more local languages, especially making use of community radio stations in Pika, in places like Muchinga, where you find Isoka, where you find Chinsali, where you find Nakonde. There is need that those community radio stations obviously are made use of to remove these distortions that are being published by our colleagues. And obviously, by my team also on our end, because the ones that are distorting the message are opposition. I know that Mulenga is addressing FRA, they have heard. We will take it up and make sure that something is done in that area. Then I'm glad that someone from the group of persons with disabilities called. And this is exactly my point. Can you imagine how valuable the information he has brought, some of which many of us did not know? The 30% transport, extra transport allowance given to persons living with disabilities. Those are positives that we can only get from the beneficiaries themselves. We need to reach a point where the beneficiaries, citizens, must be able to tell a story of what is they're experiencing, because then no one will argue with them. Imagine a voice from him speaking in the National Assembly. He has raised issues that maybe Luchi may not have known, maybe Mark may not have known, because they are having them. And he has also made very progressive recommendations, which obviously will make us adopt his words as ours as well. Then, indeed, social cash transfer has increased, and indeed, there is need for us to monitor social welfare workers. And this is done by, obviously, their superiors in those government institutions. And I should further indicate, my brother, that moving forward as UPND, I think the most important thing that we need to bring out to the people of Zambia is, number one, the cost of living is a primary focus. More jobs on a scale, especially for youths, is something that we are talking about. More diversification in the area of agriculture and producing more is what we are talking about. When we produce more, there will be food security in the country. There will be also more in store to reserve in case of a crisis. Also, more opportunities being given for investment to youths, women, and persons living with disabilities under the artisanal mining initiative, which so far is yielding positive fruits in a more formalized way of mining, is what we are encouraging. I want to also remind our citizens that moving into this election should not just be about how big the nose of Mark is. It should be about what has Mark, UPND, under HH done in the period that we allowed them to rule, versus the distraction that was caused in 10 years. If we do all agree that Lusaka and Dora do courage could have cost us more, it could have been also be based on borrowed money, meaning the lifespan of the road in terms of repairs could have been borne by government. But that is not the case under President HH. We have a road that has reached an advanced stage without borrowing money, but instead government has done Kalova through NAPSA, where government will make more money, which money will be used to also help citizens that are owed money through NAPSA partial withdrawal. They are generating more income so that they are able to sustain the institution itself. We are aware at the same time that more mines are coming up in other parts of the country that were not initially predominantly mining regions, such as Muchinga. Because now UPND is talking about provincial economies. And in talking about provincial economies, the same things our colleagues have been laughing at, such as international airports, are key in developing those areas. Because when you are opening up a mine in Chinsali, because 2 giant mines are coming in Muchinga, there will be also cargo planes landing there, carrying equipment. So we have planned ahead. Our friends can't see any value in putting up an international airport. They can't see any value in putting up an international airport in Western Province under the initiative of provincial economies. Because Western Province deals with a number of areas. One of them is farming. Cashew nuts in Zambia. The area that produces cashew nuts is Western Province. Western Province is very popular for a game of UA, It houses one of the biggest national parks that we have in Africa, Simuuwe National Park. That's why the roads, including Rwanginga Bridge, are being done. Primarily so that if we have to showcase what Zambia has and earn a living as a country, we need to relish on the natural resources that we have and we've been endowed with. It's not just about Komboka. It's about farming. Kaoma is a farming block. Nkehema is a farming block. They produce maximum maize there, which add to the national basket. Our friends don't also recognize the fact that Western Province comes with this kind of value. Northwestern Province is not something we can talk about. For many years, you recall that many people never thought anything good could come out of Northwestern Province. Today, Northwestern Province is feeding the country. President HH and his team are saying we should move away from the culture of believing that nothing can come out of Luapula. We are putting up an international airport here. We have set up a 50 megawatts which has already been commissioned in Mansa. In Northern Province, you have the first ever 4-star hotel because there are plantations of tea that have come up there. There are mining activities that have come up in Northern Province.
Okay.
In Muchinga, we have a first ever 4-star hotel in Winding Up, which has been set up in Muchinga. International airports are coming there. Like his Chinese saying says, if you want to develop a country, put up an airport, put up a road, put up a railway line. Then the rest will fall into place because then you have access roads to also get the products that are coming from that area. So HH means well. Yeah.
In just 60 seconds, I just want you to elaborate on this. This is from somebody called Richie. Richie says some of the policies, or many of the policies of the UPND in terms of economic policies that are being implemented only benefit the corporate world than the local man in the compounds. Are you able just in 60 seconds just explain whether or not you agree with this?
That is not correct. Let me give you an economic policy of cash for work. Because it's an economic policy. You're talking about economics. Does that benefit the corporate world? No. That is a policy that is centered on the underprivileged. Social cash transfer from 550, I'm talking about social security, from 550,000 beneficiaries to 1.5. Is it an economic policy that benefits the corporate world? No, it's the underprivileged. Let's talk about the municipal loans. They are not corporate in nature. Let's talk about, training of over 200,000 in skills training so that they can earn a living, they can be dependent on themselves using the skill that we are giving them. Because that's an economic issue now. That's why education under HH has been classified as an economic issue and not a social issue. I think this message should be made very clear. So when I don't know, maybe it's an issue of not understanding what is going on, but we have the duty to explain all these things so that we bring them at that level. Okay, so increasing CEEC allocation from 41 million where we found it to over 400 million simply means there are more beneficiaries this time. That's what it translates to. All those are poor policies. Free education is an economic policy that takes away a parent who is supposed to be paying. It's a poor kind of policy. Feeding children is a poor kind of policy. All those are economic issues. Perhaps, I don't know how he was looking at economic issues. Maybe he was looking at economic issues from a different angle. But I thought it is important for us to contextualize these issues of economics.
Okay.
And to understand that all these things are centered on the poor Zambians. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, there is also local content. I'm sure you've heard of local content, which is benefiting the local industries in Zambia that buy Zambia, buy what is produced by Zambians. And also another policy in the mines for those who are supplying on the copper belt and other places. Any supply that is below 20 million can only be done by a Zambian. All those are policies that are centered at benefiting Zambians and at a lower level. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to read you this text from someone. You don't have to respond to this, but this is the very last text.
That you don't want? Okay,
you don't need to respond
to
this.
It doesn't require a response?
No.
Okay.
So this is from Yasa. Yasa says, please withhold my name. I'm so sorry. I just did. I'm so sorry. I feel like I shouldn't continue now at this point. Anyway, he or she says, I would like to congratulate the president and the UPND for the partial NAPSA withdrawal. I was stuck for years failing to complete my house. It's now done. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Indeed, doesn't require a response.
No, it doesn't require a response. That is the program for today. Thank you very much for listening.
This has been Let the People Talk. Let the People Talk. Join us again every Tuesday and Fridays at 09 hours for another live intriguing discussion of various issues of national interest on Radio Phoenix, the station of the